Welcome to Focus on Creativity, where we talk about creativity. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Charr Crail, photographer, artist, muse, and I'm here today on Focus on Creativity with Wayne Kelly. He is an award-winning radio host, and he's got On-Air Publicity. He's the founder of On-Air Publicity. So I'm very excited, Wayne, that we're here together talking about creativity because that's my favorite thing to talk about. So, hey, hello, introduce
Hi.
yourself.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. This is great. I've never really analyzed creativity before, but this is going to be a fun little adventure that we're going to discuss. I am looking forward to this, and thanks so much for having me here.
A pleasure. Well, it is about creativity, and
Mm.
I know what my processes are, but I'm so intensely curious about other people. Number one, how you view creativity in your own life, and if you're starting a project or anything that you are choosing to do, any endeavor, how you put it together, what's your thought process around creating something?
Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll start off with talking about radio first off, because that's what I do. I'm on the air Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's a 4-hour show. I don't work all day.
Wow.
And so, there's a place where, you turn on a microphone, and when you turn on that microphone, you better be grabbing people's attention. Like, that's what I'm paid to do. And if I'm not grabbing their attention, that means I may be getting boring. So I need to be creative every single day. There's got to be something that I always take a spin on. And I got to tell you, I love nothing more than just seeing things throughout my day, and then it triggers something, and I'll think of something it'll just be odd. It'll be crazy, and I'll think, oh, that's kind of funny. That makes me laugh. And then from that point, I may send myself a note to the radio station and say, I observed this today, and this is kind of humorous. It makes me smile. And from there, I can kind of sometimes create little bit ideas that grow. So that's kind of how I actually just find it in life, regular life. That's where my creativity lies.
I love it. You're looking for triggers all the time, and then you're going with whatever spark it creates for you.
Yeah, and I like to start with just like one idea, and then for me, the creativity comes in silence. So when I'm driving, like if we have a meeting at the station, I say, okay, we need to talk about this subject. What can we do? What would be fun? I can often, I may not come with an idea at that point, but what will happen is as I'm driving home, that's when creativity starts. Whenever I have quiet time, I've taken up cycling in the last 7 years, and I find my creativity on the bike is just awesome because there's nothing, you don't think about anything else except for riding the bike and trying to keep my lungs inside my body as opposed to them falling outside of my body. That's my goal. And so when I'm out riding, I'm not thinking about anything else. That's when it almost opens up this clear space where I can have these new creative ideas. So that's kind of where it comes from for me.
I love it. So you're actually using your biking as a form of meditation.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously. And that whole germination process, that's what I was hearing from you. It's like how something gets triggered, the spark, right? And for example, this is not linear. We're not talking about a linear experience, but you're on your bike and then there's quiet. You have opportunity to think. And so that germination process has been going. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, something really occurs for you.
Yes, that's exactly it. Or if I'm watching TV or, it can really come from anywhere where you may have an idea. So with on-air publicity, I teach people how to use media to get promotions. So how to be a great radio guest, because I love interviewing people. I have interviewed people from just everywhere, celebrities, and they're fun and they're okay, but I like the more eccentric, the better for me.
Eccentric. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I love nothing more. I interviewed a guy who was taken by a UFO, and he got the spirit of Elvis Presley put into his soul of Elvis put into him, and I mean, that's awesome stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God! So did he perform as Elvis, or did
he?
Oh
yeah. He's a actual performing Elvis guy, and
oh my gosh!
Oh, he legally changed his name and everything. It's really quite fascinating. So when I talk about becoming a great radio guest, once again, you've got to be entertaining, you've got to educate, and you've got to somehow grab people with something. So somebody may say to me, "Well, I've got a topic, and I'm a nutritionist." Well, okay, that's great. Or I'm a relationship expert, or I am whatever it is. I'm a therapist. Well,
Yeah.
okay, that's great that that's what you are, but what's the hook that's going to grab my listeners?
Yeah.
What's going to make them pay attention to what it is that we're discussing, right? And that's really where it comes from. There's always this spark where you take it, you go, okay, I'm going to look for a great idea for a relationship expert. And then all of a sudden you'll see something going on. Maybe it's in news, maybe it's on a celebrity, maybe it's something. And you can take that idea and grow it into, oh, this is going to be a really fun topic.
Interesting. So really interesting. And what I got from that, I'm trying to distill it because it's so good, is that you got an idea and you put it out there. And the next thing you know, you're starting to see it bloom and blossom, or certainly appear in front of you, so that you can pick and choose how you want to bring it forth. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much. And sometimes you have to put it forth and let it fail. Okay, this is because creativity, you think of songwriters, that you write a song and you think it's a great song, and then you write other songs and you go back to that original one and you go, oh, it's really not that good, but at least I tried. I didn't hush the song before it came out.
Interesting.
Right? You have to do this. And I see this all the time with, television, like Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert and like all those greats. Not everything they do at every time is brilliantly funny.
Well,
right?
Yeah. And what I heard you just say, there's two things actually that came up for me. One of them is let it flow and let it fail.
Yeah.
It could go either way. And it also reminded me that there's a
Yes.
guitar in the background there. So are you a songwriter?
Yeah, I've written a couple of songs in my days, but yeah, I'm not playing.
Okay.
I won't sing you a song.
No, not even a little humming? Okay, no, it's all right. You're off the hook.
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Oof. Yes. But once, and here's another thing too, is, if we're going to be talking to entrepreneurs and people who are out there trying to make themselves a living, they've got to get used to being creative, but they also have to embrace the failure. And you mentioned that, it's one of the two things. You're going to have the failure. And so I find that I am actually the most creative when I'm fed up, or I'm like, this is terrible. Everything is going wrong. I'm going to have a pity party. And, and out of the pity party comes always these really new, fresh ideas. And it almost turns out to me that creativity happens best when you're not trying to force it. It has to just kind of happen in a more mellow place. That's where, for me, where creativity can happen.
I totally agree. It does sort of happen in a very mellow place. But in the meantime, sometimes the angst of trying to find it is what stops me from finding it. If I'm working too hard at it, it's just not there. I have to and like you said earlier, just in the quiet, just kind of relax. And it is happening on sort of the secondary level of thought, isn't it?
Yeah. And you have to pay attention to those little secondary thoughts that happen. And because one of those little ideas that may seem right out there turn out to be the funniest bits.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the radio sometimes, I could be talking about one subject, and then all of a sudden my co-host Jane will say something, or maybe it's a listener that calls in and they say something, and it'll trigger something in my head that I go, and it just dumps out of my head, and you go with this new idea, and it turns out to be really like the funniest thing that you did all day, and it was the one thing you really didn't plan. It just happened. You go from the gut. Yeah.
Right. It's improv. It's like comedians doing improv. It's like whatever shows up, they go, bleh. There's no thought between, there's no space between the thought and the expression.
Yeah. So they have to go with it. Whereas if I'm going to sit in the studio here and try to be creative and create something, turn on a microphone, and I'm going to just talk, it'd be boring as could be. It doesn't work. It's extremely hard to do. But there's something about, just going with that idea that sparks. Live for me is fantastic. I love being live. And that's kind of what I love to do when it comes to creating.
I like that. So live for you is where, I don't know how to explain it exactly. I mean, I see it's in my head, but it sounds like that's an expansive place for you. Whereas if you're sort of tight, right, it sounds looser than if you're tight and not recorded. It's not, there's not the same kind of freedom that live creates for you. Although I don't know, freedom is an odd word for it, but I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, I wonder if it is. Is it freedom? It's just that when you're live, whatever happens, happens. It's done. So you're going to say it and you're going to live by it. It's out there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you pre-record it, you will always overanalyze it. Is it good enough? Oh, I should have changed this. I should redo this word. I've got a in it, or I've got a I said and that doesn't even matter. You know, it's the passion. As long as that kind of passion can come out of you, it doesn't matter what you do. If you have that, you got this excitement for what you're doing, and you strive to be better. And I think it's really important that you always go back and look at what you've done in the past, because when you look at something, you know, like I'll listen to every radio show I do, and like not every word of it, but I'll go back and I'll listen quite a bit. And I've been doing radio for now over 20 years.
Wow.
And I still learn from what I'm doing. And I say, oh, you know what? I could have done this better. And that's a trick we learned from Mr. David Letterman. He used to always analyze his shows. Right? So it's really important for all of us, I think, when we be creative, analyze it, look at it, and say, yeah, you know what? That's pretty darn good. And appreciate it for what it is, because then I think you become more open to the next idea that's going to come your way.
Yeah. And it's like you got the mistake out of the way, if that was one to be concerned about, so that you can go forward knowing and avoid that particular thing in the past again. I don't know about anybody who's going to be listening to, I sure felt, what's they call it, bingo? Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I got a lot out of that. And
Awesome.
Especially the live versus recorded thing, because I've totally experienced that and felt that myself. And I can talk, man. I can talk. Give me a question, I'll go, you know, because I've spoken to groups and stuff, so I totally get that. I'm very inspired by everything that you said, and very grateful that you're here with me today.
I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much for having me. It was interesting to talk about something I haven't really talked about. Creativity. Where does it come from? I don't know.
I don't know. And it's different for everybody. Totally different. That's why I created this conversation. So delighted you were a part of this one. Okay. So that said, and I was kind of blown away, and I took some notes, so I'm going to have to reflect back on that myself. But if somebody wants to get in touch with you directly, how do they find you? Oh,
very easy. Just go to my website. That's the easiest way to find me. onairpublicity.com.
Perfect.
And I'm always there. I just loiter there. I hang out there.
Wayne Kelly, you're amazing. Thank you
Charr.
so much. I really appreciate it. This was great.